Mobile Geeks, and what we have right here is the new Gigabyte Brix Pro. This is actually not a real mobile device, so it's not a tablet or whatever, but as you can see on the bag, on the packaging already, it is an ultra compact PC kit. That's what Gigabyte calls it. And they've built this in cooperation with Intel, trying to revive the PC sector by building high performance professional performance, as it says on the packaging, super compact form factor PCs basically. And what we're going to do today is unbox the device, and I'll show you it booting up, and just to demonstrate the performance. We're going to do some video rendering in Cyberlink Power Director using the hardware accelerated rendering stuff, do some benchmarking on the Intel SSD that's in there, and I'm just going to generally show you around the device and try to demonstrate why the PC itself is not dead yet, not even the desktop PC, because these kinds of devices are going to get more and more common. And yeah, let's start by unboxing the Gigabyte Brix Pro. So it comes in this pretty compact box already, but when you open it up, it turns out it's even smaller. So just to give you a quick size comparison, I'll have my Moto G right here. I'll put that on the box. So basically, it's just a bit taller than the Moto G, and that just goes to show how compact the box itself already is. So that would be something that Shuttle has as their full PC, or your standard desktop is probably maybe 5 or 6 times the size of this. So you get this box right here. I'm just gonna pull off the packaging right there, and there we go. We lift this off, and right here we have the licensing stuff from Microsoft for the Windows version that's installed on this. And this already is actually the Gigabyte Brix Pro. So it's so tiny. When I opened it up, I was actually surprised how small it is. I've seen the device before at trade shows and stuff, and my colleagues at Mobile Geeks actually had this as their rendering device at CES this year, also on a loan from Gigabyte. And I'm just going to quickly pull it out of this bag right here. And there you go. That's it. That's the Gigabyte Brix Pro already. The casing is probably 12 centimeters long and wide, so it's pretty square. The height is, I would guess, under 10 centimeters. That's maybe 8 or 9 centimeters tall. So it's really a super compact device, but I'll put that to the side for a second and check out what else is in the box. So when you've gotten the Brix Pro itself out of the box, you'll just lift this part off. And on here we have a couple of screws, because there is a Visa mount included in the packaging. Put the screws to the side. Actually, these are the screws for the Visa mount, so you can actually put this on the back of your TV, for example, to have it work as an HTPC or just a compact entertainment system, or even if you're using it as a desktop, just put this on the back of your TV or your monitor. Those are the drivers. This is the Visa mounting plate, and this is just a quick installation guide for setting it up, because this actually comes as a bare bones system, so there's no SSD in there, no RAM installed, but this guide actually tells you how to get the SSD in there. It fits a standard 2.5-inch SSD, but there's also room for a mini PCIe mSATA SSD also, and I think there's even room for PCIe connected SSDs. So you can have up to maybe 2, you can at least have 2 SSDs in there, but there's also, I guess there's room for even 3, but I can't really tell you about that right now. And let's dig further down. And as you can see right there, although you can't see because the lighting is not optimal, here goes the power brick. So this is actually a 135 watt power brick that has a connector just like your standard bigger sized notebook. It's pretty compact, but it feels actually pretty big for a tiny device like this, but it already tells you how powerful the Gigabyte Brix Pro is, because this tiny PC actually has a quad-core Intel Core i7 desktop CPU that goes up to 3.9 gigahertz on Turbo Boost, but I'll talk about that later. Let me just quickly get this guy out of the box. So that's the standard power connector cable with its 3 heads right here, just as you know from other notebooks, for example. This is actually an US version they sent me, so we have the standard connector for the US market, and that's pretty much it. So that is my quick unboxing of the Gigabyte Brix Pro, and here we have the device itself. Let me just have my camera zoom in and get this focused in a better way. I'm just going to quickly rip off the foil. So it comes in this pretty glossy full metal casing. So the casing also helps it get the super high-end or pretty high-end Core i7 to keep it cool, actually, because this guy actually has an Intel Core i7 4770R quad-core CPU in there. It's Haswell based. That runs at 3.2 gigahertz standard speed, but using Turbo Boost it can go up to actually 3.9 gigahertz. So you have a 3.9 gigahertz CPU in this 12 by 12 or whatever, just around 12 by 12. I think it's even smaller than a standard CD casing. It's, as I said, full metal casing. We have the standard Iris Pro graphics on here, so it's actually an Iris Pro 5000 graphics part, I think, in the Intel Core i7 4770R. And this guy actually has 8 gigs of RAM right now. It can take up to 16 gigabytes of RAM, and you can have a 2.5-inch SSD or HDD installed. This thing right now has a 240 gig SSD from Intel. I think it's a 530 series part. The device in barebone configuration, just as you would buy it from your retailer, retails in Germany right now for 599 euros, I think. There's a couple of dealers that are actually selling it for more. In the US, it should be basically around the same pricing. You add in an SSD for 100 or maybe 200 euros. So the pricing, including the RAM and everything, would probably be around 800 euros, which is quite a lot for a tiny device like this, but you actually also get a lot. Let me just quickly show you around the device. So we have 2 USB 3.0 ports on the front already. You have an optical out, so this is SPDIF, sound, line out, and even an optical port. These are big fan vents right here that Gigabyte has integrated. Move around to the side, you can actually see the big heatsink that's in there. Comes in this, it is kind of a metallic look gray they have applied right here. And let's move on to the back. So again, big fan vents to get this high-end Core i7 cooled. And right here we have a Kensington lock, so you can actually lock it up to your, fix it to a table or whatever, so it doesn't get stolen. This right here is the power port where you put your PSU. Right next to that is full-size HDMI out. This is a display port, Ethernet port, and another 2 USB 3.0 ports. On the other side, again, more vents, and yeah, that's basically it. And yeah, in the next parts of the video, I'm probably going to open it up, but let's just not forget about the power button right here. So that's where you actually start the device. What I can already tell you is this guy boots up so fast, it's really amazing. The whole system is right now running Windows 8.1 64-bit, and this guy boots up within about 5 seconds from pressing the power button to the full Windows 8 desktop. So now the Gigabyte Brix Pro is connected to my desktop monitor, and I have a Tegra Note right here. And what we're going to do right now is just check out the boot up time. So this is a cold boot. The device is totally switched off, and let's hit it. Takes a bit of time till the boot stuff shows up. That bar underneath the screen is actually because it can't cope with the higher resolution on the screen. And there you go. That was a boot within, well, I'd say about 11 seconds to the Windows start screen. Till it's fully loaded, it's probably just about 15 seconds. And what we're going to do right now is do a quick reboot. So just let me reset my counter here, and off we go. Shutting down. And it should take just about the same time to get the device back up and running. And there we are on the desktop. So that was about maybe like 10 seconds to shut down and another 15 to actually boot it back up. Wake up times from standby are actually, or from sleep mode, are actually a bit shorter, I think. So let's try that out. Device is sleeping right now. And I'm going to reset the timer again. Oops. Let me try that again, and let's go. So there we are again. I need to log in right here. Basically takes just about 5 seconds to wake up from standby. So one of the reasons why we at Mobile Geeks like the Gigabyte Brix Pro is actually its amazing rendering power, or not amazing, but basically it gives you all the power of a full-fledged desktop PC in a super compact form factor. So we sometimes take it along on business trips to trade shows like CES, Computex, CeBIT, or IFA, and we use it as a rendering machine stationary at the hotel rooms or wherever the office is at the show. And that's why I want to show you how this thing does in rendering. So I have a 1.5 gigabyte file it's a hands-on video or an unboxing video of the new HTC One M8 I did at the London event, and what I'm going to do is basically I'm going to produce it in Cyberlink Power Director, which uses the Intel QuickSync technology, which in turn is using the integrated Intel Iris Pro 5200 graphics part on the Core i7 4770R in this Gigabyte Brix Pro to render hardware accelerated, and this will be a full HD 16 megabit MPEG-4 file that is produced right here. And yeah, let's get going, and I'm gonna again time this with the Tegra Note I have right here. So let's get started. And it should take just above a minute, maybe like a minute and 20 seconds or something, to render this file that actually has a length of 7 minutes and a bit. So you have a rendering time of 7 to 1, which is amazing for a device this compact. Again, using this desktop class quad-core at 3.9 gigahertz. One thing that has to be remembered on the Gigabyte Brix Pro though is that because it's such a compact PC, it'll actually have problems getting this 65 watts of heat dissipation of the Core i7 that's in here out of the small 10 by 10 centimeter box. So sometimes the big vent that's in there or the fan in there will actually start blasting way ahead. I mean, I don't know if you can hear that, but it really starts turning up the fan. I think you should be able to hear that. So this took just about 1 minute and 20 seconds to render this 7-minute file. So that's basically a ratio of close to 7 to 1. And as you can still hear, the Gigabyte Brix Pro is still blasting along on the fan there to actually cool down the CPU again. It'll slow down the fan right away after you've done rendering, so it'll be quiet again. So on normal office tasks, that shouldn't be a problem at all. So only when rendering or playing games or using other apps that are really taxing the CPU right there. So yeah, this has been my quick rendering test on the Gigabyte Brix Pro. So after checking out the boot up times and stuff, I wanted to show you how to upgrade the Gigabyte Brix Pro, because this thing is actually coming in as a bare bone in Germany. This one is already installed with 8 gigs of RAM and an Intel 525 series mini PCIe or mSATA SSD. I guess it's mSATA. So all you have to do is basically open up the screws on the bottom. So there's those 4 screws right there. In this case, you have to break the seal because it's been a retail package. In Europe, that shouldn't have to be done because, as I said, it's coming in as a bare bone, so it's probably not sealed. So I'm just gonna quickly open this guy up. After opening up the Gigabyte Brix, all you got to do is basically grab this little thing right here, and you can lift off the base plate, and there you already go. That's basically just the dock or the port for your 2.5-inch hard drive or SSD. The way you're going to do it is basically you're just going to slide this the other way around. You're just going to slide this in right here, and then you have this connector right here. Connect this, and then you'll just drop it on here. As we've opened up the device already, let's just take a quick peek inside. So right here we have the mSATA SSD from Intel. Underneath that is actually the Wi-Fi card that's installed. So you have a combined SSD slot right there and another mini PCIe half-sized card slot for your Wi-Fi card. And these are the 2 RAM bars. So in this case we have 2 4 gigabyte Kingston RAM bars installed. You can have up to 16 gigabytes in here. So in the end, the Gigabyte Brix Pro will end up being a super powerful and very well equipped but tiny machine. So after you've installed the SSD, you can just put in the screws right here. There's the mounting holes on both sides of the device, and then you just kind of throw this in here, power it up, and then you're ready to go. So now that I've shown you the Gigabyte Brix Pro and what it can do, is all I have to say is actually that Intel and Gigabyte and all the other hardware manufacturers are actually really up to something on the concept of shrinking the PC to a very, very tiny format. There's even smaller versions of this where you can't install an SSD. But in this case, I think it's the most perfect combination of all the things that the companies have come up with, because there's extensibility. You can install your own hard drive. There's room for an SSD or a normal hard drive. There's also the mSATA or mini PCIe slots where you can extend the storage, so you can combine super fast SSD with traditional storage for, well, storage or capacity actually. So you'll end up with whatever, for example, a 256 gigabyte SSD combined with a 2 terabyte hard drive. You have lots of storage, lots of power, lots of RAM in a super small package. As I said, this thing is only 12 by 12 centimeters big. It is very mobile. You can actually carry it anywhere. You can mount it on the back of your TV or your monitor. The only gripe I have about this is they should have more ports in there, so you probably would be better off if you had a couple of more USB ports. Another thing is they should put in an eSIDA port for extensibility, but that's not really necessary. And the only other big issue I have with this is actually the cooling problems that this has, because when you're really taxing the device and you're always doing stuff that is really using all the power that's in there, because again we're talking about a Core i7-4770R in here that goes up to 3.9 gigahertz, it will get really loud, or it can get kind of annoying, but if you have music playing or whatever, that shouldn't disturb you. But if you're really if you have a problem with noise, you shouldn't get this. But if that's all right with you, or you do office stuff and you just basically from time to time do work with the device that is more taxing, that should be fine. And for us, it's great because it has all the power that we need in a super compact package.